Morning, children. Welcome to online English classes of Yavatmal. Students, today before we start, you need to answer one question, and the question is on your screen. Okay, students, you have recorded all your answers, and of course, all your answers are correct one. All these options given to you are big hurdles to achieve the success. But today, we're going to discuss one of its hurdle, fear, because
जो डर गया समझो मर गया.
and it's true, if we have fear of something, this fear robs our potential and stops us to achieve our goal, stops us to achieve our target. So this is the very important factor that we should not feel fear of fear. And if you want to achieve something, if you want to do something in our life, so this fear should be removed. And our next chapter is based on the same theme. So let us move towards our next chapter that talks about the fear and overcoming it, by the chapter Deep Water by William O. Douglas. Dear children, this chapter is actually a very small part of a book, an autobiographical account of a writer, William O. Douglas, of Men and Mountain. The name of the book is Of Men and Mountain, and from this book, this extract is taken, this excerpt is taken. And in this particular part of the book, the writer talks about his own fear. That once upon a time he was obsessed with the fear, and he overcame it. So it's all about his personal experience of fear and the story of how he overcame it. So he shared with us with a very good analysis of his fear. And so let us move towards the fear, what writer fears of. Some people feel fear of cockroaches. Some people feel fear of lizards. Some people feel fear to speak with public, to strangers, to new people. Some people feel fear to make new friends. Some people feel fear of darkness. Some people feel fear of traffic. Or there is always something that we feel fear. And of course, all these kind of fears, no, they are not life-threatening, or they are not as important as something that could be that could matter. But there are certain things, of course, that always matters in our life. These certain fears, they takes us back, they takes us behind, and many a times these important factors play important role to make us fail, badly fail. And sometimes we do not even realize that this is the reason that why do we fail. Or even take an example of the successful people. These people, successful people, are successful because they are courageous. The difference between these successful people and the people those are failure is only that at certain point of their life, at a certain point of situation, the courageous people takes the decision with daring. They do not fear and take the step ahead, or they overcome the fear if they have it. And it's not only that that successful people do not fear. We just now I said that they are courageous. They are courageous, but they also feel fear. But the fear that they felt, and when they realize it, that they overcome, that fear, and that is why they could become successful. Now coming to our writer William O. Douglas, let's talk about his fear. Our writer William O. Douglas was obsessed with the fear of water, which is also called as hydrophobia. Actually, all these fears, they are called or named after phobia. There are different kind of phobias. Take an example of fear of heights. Suppose somebody is afraid of going on the heights, so that fear is called as acrophobia. Or fear of being alone, that is called as atophobia. A fear of crowd, that is called as claustrophobia. So there are different kind of phobias. Lots of numbers are there. So fear of dogs. Many people fear of dogs. So this phobia is called as cynophobia. We have other examples of that. The major phobia that we have among the students, you people, is that the fear of speaking on the stage, speaking before the audience. That is called as a glossophobia. Some children also feel fear of injection. Doctor medicine. Whenever you go to the clinic, the doctor gives you injection. So some people fear of that injection also. So this fear of injection is caused as trypanophobia. Some people fear of darkness. They fear to go out at night. So this is also called as nyctophobia. So all these fears are actually phobias, and our writer William O. Douglas was having hydrophobia. Hydrophobia is fear of water. Now, before going towards our main text, let us know something about our writer. Our writer is William O. Douglas, the author of our chapter Deep Water, which is taken from of Men and Mountain. William O. Douglas was born in 1898 and died in 1980, and he was from USA. He was a leading advocate of individual rights. Individual rights can be also called as the human rights or the fundamental rights. So he was an advocate. He supports for the civil rights, individual rights, the human rights. So a humanitarian person he was. And as far as his profession is concerned, he was a judge in Supreme Court of USA, and not only that, he was for a very long period. It is known as the longest service in the history of any court as a justice. Near about 36 years of his service he had done in the Supreme Court of United States of America. So this was something about his introduction. Coming to his books and his writing, his very famous book is Nature's Justice. This is a well-read and best-seller book, Nature Justice by William Douglas. His another book that we also could talk of is Beyond the High Himalayas, and he has also written many travel books. But our main concern is the book that our chapter is taken from is of Men and Mountain. So the chapter or extract an expert is taken from this particular book of Men and Mountain. So let us come towards our main text and we'll see what is there in the main text. So your answer is hydrophobia. Correct. This chapter is all about the writer's fear of water, and that is hydrophobia. Now the question is that why our writer felt fear of water. Why he was obsessed so much with this water? Why he feel fear of it? There must be some reasons, no? Even we people, when we fear of something, there are certain reasons behind it. Fear doesn't come suddenly, or it doesn't come naturally. When we are born, we have no fear at all. We were born fear free. But later, gradually, when we grow up, we learn fear. Take an example. When parents tell us that don't take anything from the stranger, parents they tell their children don't take chocolates like things, from the strangers. So when this thought, this idea goes deep in conscience, my subconscious mind of the child, so this child develops fear of stranger, and he always think that taking anything from the stranger is risky and dangerous, and that's why he feel fear to take anything from the stranger. So he doesn't go towards the stranger or doesn't take anything from the stranger. That's how the fear comes. This is very trivial fear, which doesn't matter much. Sometime somebody tells you that there is a monster, you don't go there. Okay, whenever there is darkness, so don't go out at night, because monsters, they roam around at the night time. So when this idea that goes deep in our mind, in subconscious state, a fear is developed in our mind that we shouldn't go outside in the darkness particularly. So this is how we learn the fear and develop some at some particular situation phobia about it. So even this is somebody tells, even by experience also we feel fear. Take a very common example. Why our students, you people, some of you, that you do not dare to go on the stage and speak, particularly speaking in English. That's the concern of our subject. So why we feel fear of speaking English before the audience on the stage? It is because by experience we have learned it that when we speak and something goes wrong, it might have happened earlier somewhere, sometime in the past, that when we spoke, somebody laughed, somebody made fun of it. So the outcomes of what we did, that was not good one, that is not liked by us, and that is why we feel fear of being fun of the people, or being get target of people. So that is why we feel fear of speaking before the audience, or we think that somewhere we will go wrong. So these are the certain reasons that we feel fear. Now coming to our writer William O. Douglas, why did he feel fear of water? There are two particular reasons that he developed the fear of water. Let us see these two reasons why he feel fear of it. The first reason that he has developed out of the experience when he was 3 to 4 years old. He told us that when he was 3 to 4 years old, his father took him to a beach in California. And in the waves they went, his father, and he was on his shoulders hanging. And a wave come, with great force and knocked him down. It swept over him. He was burying in the water and was out of breath. He was separated from the father and was gulping the water in the mouth. So out of breath, he was so frightened that he thought that he was sinking, he was drowning, and at another side, his father was laughing at him. Oh, that's the more reason, no? Whenever people laugh at us, we feel fear. We don't want to be fun for others. So when William was frightened, out of breath, he was needed the support from father, but father was laughing because father was well aware that nothing would happen, and he thought it was a fun. But unexperienced William, who did not know that nothing could happen, this little child, he was so much terrified and by the overpowering force of the waves that this incident has developed a kind of aversion in the mind of 3 to 4 year William. Aversion? Aversion is nothing but a strong dislike to something. If you strongly dislike something, for example, suppose cockroach, the girls know they have the aversion to the cockroach. Oh, yeah, they say lizards, no. So he disliked water from that time. This was the first reason of his hydrophobia that has actually concreted or made the foundation for developing his hydrophobia later. And the second reason is a misadventure that happened in YMCA pool when he was 10 to 11 years old. Near about 5 to 6 years later. These 5 to 6 years, William Douglas was having the aversion to the water, and with the same aversion of water, he later developed the haunting fear of water, the terror of water. That's we call hydrophobia. But this hydrophobia is developed out of the incidents, the misadventure that happened at YMCA pool. So let us see what this misadventure is. What exactly happened and why how he went there to YMCA. Let us see it. Okay. Aversion means strong dislike. You are correct. Now, coming to the next part, here we have seen that when the aversion developed when William was of 3 4 years old. Now he has become 10 to 11 years old and he has decided to learn swimming. So the place he was living in was Yakima. Yakima is actually a city in Washington state of America, and this city is situated in Yakima Valley, through which Yakima River is flowing. And this Yakima is actually the name of a tribe. Yakim is the tribe, and the entire valley in that state, the river and the city they are situated, one of the big city, they all are named after Yakima. So the first option was the river for William to learn swimming, Yakima River. But Yakima River was treacherous one. It was dangerous one. Treacherous means dangerous. There were many cases reported that many cases of drowning reported, and mother knew it. Mother warned William, the young William, not to go there and learn swimming. To learn swimming, so it is better to go to YMCA pool. instead of going to Yakima River, it is safer to go YMCA school. And why it is safer? That YMCA pool was um, at the shallow end. Shallow end means where we have the less deep water. So just 2-3 feet deep water was there at the shallow end, and at the deep end 9 feet was there. And the trainees were there, of course. So with the paddles and the wings, water wings, we would have to go to the pool. So the teacher would be there, instructor would be there to help you, to teach you. So a pool is always safer than the river to learn swimming, because in a river we cannot say anything. No, the flow of the water is very natural one, and how it would change according to the weather. So and even the conditions, the earthly conditions, the conditions of the soil within the water, and its flow, its stream, its current. It depends everything on that. And as mothers had warned him that there were many children, the young children, thrown into the water. So here, William Douglas, he has decided to learn swimming in YMCA pool, which is a safer place, just 2-3 feet at the shallow end and 9 feet at the deep end, and the drop of that swimming pool was very gradual one. So uh, swimming pool was uh, chosen to learn swimming. Okay, YMCA pool was safer because it was just 2-3 feet at shallow end and 9 feet deep at deep end, and gradual drop it was there. So this was the reason that why he started learning swimming at YMCA pool. Now he started swimming, and his introduction to YMCA pool uh, that has revived his earlier memories of fear of water, his aversion to the water. But gradually when he started swimming along with his friends and watching his friends and imitating them and paddling with his new water wings, so he gradually, slowly, he started overcoming that aversion and fear, and started feeling comfortable with water. But one day, it happens that he was alone, and he came a bit earlier, and he was a little bit timid to go alone into the swimming pool, into the water. So he waited that somebody would come, and was sitting there just at the edge of swimming pool. And suddenly, boy of 18 years old, who is described here as a bruiser of a boy, a big bruiser of a boy. A big bruiser of a boy means who is very strongly built, well built. So this boy came behind him, and he had thick hair on his chest. He was a beautiful physical specimen. He has the rippling arms and legs uh, with muscles. And he came, and he yelled, he shouted, "Hi, Skinny, how would you like to be ducked?" He thought that he would have the fun with William. William was very skinny one, not so built up one and timid one. So he thought that let's make fun of him. So he picked him up and threw into the deep end of the swimming pool. What did he do? He picked up William, the big bruiser of boy. He picked up the William and threw at the deep end of the swimming pool. And now William, who was already timid, who was already having the fear of water, was thrown by the big bruiser of boy, was panicked. He started swallowing water when he got into the water, and started going to the bottom of the pool. He was completely frightened. But he said that he was not frightened out of his wits. See, very beautifully he described the further incidents. So he landed in the swimming pool into the water, and now while going towards the bottom, for it was the first time though he was frightened, he says that I was not frightened out of my wits. Means he could think, he could reason it. So what did he do? He planned. See, so he said that on my way down, I planned. When my feet hit the bottom, I would make a big jump, come to the surface and lie flat on it and paddle to the edge of the pool. So was his plan. What was his plan? When he will reach to the bottom, he will hit very hard to the bottom and quickly jump to the surface of the water and lie flat on it and would paddle the edge of the pool and will save himself. This was his plan. But it said no. God proposes. Sorry, a man proposes and God disposes. He was going down and down, and it was such a long way to reach the bottom that he said that 9 feet seems like 90 feet. So the deep end was at just 9 feet. It was, it seems like it was 90 feet deep. So before he touched the bottom, his lungs started bursting. When you swallow the water, so breathing becomes problem. So your lungs had to struggle very hard. So it started bursting. Finally, when he reached to the bottom, he summoned all his strength, he gathered all his power, and he thought that he would make a great jump like a spring and will be flat on the surface like a cork. But when he hit it, it was very slow movement. He was coming with his eyes. He could not see anything when he opened his eyes. He could just see the water, the dirty yellow tinge of the water, yellow color of the water, dim yellow color. And when he realized that, as he planned, he could not jump quickly and come to the surface. And he was very slowly moving upward. He grew panicky. He was panicked badly. And he thought now how he would save himself and started to grab something. Maybe a rope is there, or maybe something is there to grab. He tried to grab something, but his hand clutched to the water only. He started suffocating. He becomes breathless. It was difficult for him to have the breath in the water. So he tried to shout. He started ailing, but in the water no sound comes out. So no sound come. Then his eyes and nose have come out suddenly. Sorry, his eyes and nose comes out, but mouth didn't. And he again flailed on the surface of water. He started moving. Flailed means he started moving his hands and legs as if he is swimming. He was trying to swim across the water to the edge of the pool. But he swallowed water and choked. He tried to bring his legs up, but they were hung as dead weights. He was paralyzed. They were rigid. He could not bring his legs upward. As if a big weight is, hung to his legs. And somebody was pulling him under. His legs were being pulled. He felt like that. And again, once again, he was going down to the bottom. His journey to the bottom started again. Further, he described that when he was going down the second time, he felt as if he was having the nightmare. He was spending all his strength to fight the nightmare, to fight with a force which is irresistible, that he cannot resist. And in this fight, he has lost his breath. His lungs started aching, his head started throbbing, and he was started getting dizzy. Okay, when the water filled your breath. So when water goes into your eyes, nose, and through ears, a kind of hollowness we could feel into the head, and the head starts throbbing, and this makes us dizzy. So he had that feeling, but still he said that he remembered the strategy, remembered his plan. And what was his plan? When he reached the bottom, he has to hit it and quickly jump on the surface and to lie on the water and swimming to reach the edge of the pool. But he started going down and down as if it is endless. While going down, once he opened his eyes, but he could see nothing. Yellow water. The glow of water. Now, this yellow water has turned into the dark water. He was not able to see through the water. And then, when he was not able to see, he could see only the darkness. Even that yellow tinge has now disappeared. Now then, the terror seized him. Sheer and stark terror. The extreme terror that seized him. And he says that the terror that has no understanding, that has no control, and that no one can understand who has not experienced it. Such a sharp and stark terror he was seized by. He was sinking under the water and was paralyzed. His whole body becomes stiff, rigid with fear. And when he started screaming, his throats were frozen. Even that screaming, earlier he yelled, he shouted, and he was trying to, shout. So earlier it was easy one, but now this time even he could not shout also. His throat got frozen, and that throbbing of the head has turned into the pounding. So throbbing is a mild one, and pounding, when it heavily throbs, it becomes pounding. So the pounding in his head started, but he said that still I was alive, was not dead. Yes, he was very close to death, he meant to say. Then, in the midst of the terror, a touch of reason comes. Again, the same, strategy that he remembered. That when he will hit the bottom, and it's what he has to do. So when he reached to the bottom, he made the jump with all his efforts, but the jump made no difference at all. He could not jump. He hit it, but he did not move up. So it made no difference. The water was still around him. Then, now what to do? He looked for ropes, he looked for ladders, water wings, but nothing was there. Just it was only water. Yellow water held him all around. And the terror, the stark terror, that took even deeper hold on him, like a great charge of electricity, as if the electricity power has got hold him, and there was no movement. And he said, I shook and trembled with fright. My arms wouldn't move. He could not move his arms. His legs, he could not move. He tried to shout. He tried to call for help, but nothing happened. Nothing. Then, strangely, there was light, and he was coming out of that hell of water. And at last, his eyes were out of the water, and his nose almost was also out of water. He could not understand. While coming up for the second time, he did not realize that he was coming up. He was just saying that he could not move his arm, he could not move his legs, and his jump has made no difference. But still, he was coming in, but he did not realize this. But when he come at the surface, he realized that when his eyes comes out, he understood it. But alas, again, he started going down third time. He was trying to breathe, he was trying to suck the air, but the water comes in, and he had to gulp again the water. The light, yellow light that he had seen faintly, that was going out again, disappearing. When he was going down, the light was going off, going off. And then the third stage started. All his effort ceased, stopped, and he became relaxed. Relaxed means he was not resting actually. He has lost his senses, as he was not able to move anything, any part of his body, neither leg, nor other arms, nothing. His legs felt limp means as if he had no leg, handicapped one, paralyzed one, and a kind of blackness swept over his brain. And that blackness wiped out his fear. It wiped out his terror. He was no more panic, and he felt quiet and peaceful. When you lose your senses, when you lose your consciousness, you had this feeling. You might have experienced sometime when you fainted, sometime when you had fallen unconscious sometime. If you remember the last point. Earlier, you feel that something is uh, throwing you round and round, but later you feel peace, drowsy, and quiet. And now here, when he lost all his courage, he lost all his hope, he feel peace and quiet, and he was now nothing afraid of. And see how beautifully described. This is nice to be drowsy, to go to sleep. No need to jump. Too tired to jump. It's nice to be carried gently, to float along the space. Tender arms around me. Tender arms like mothers. Now I must go to sleep. Actually, this description is of the description of losing his consciousness, losing half his the senses, earthly senses. When he started losing every kind of feeling, so one could feel the peace and the quietness like this. So the same feeling he said, and he said, I crossed to oblivion. Oblivion means the state of feeling nothing, state of forgetting everything. complete unconsciousness, close to death, and the curtain of life fell, he says. He thought that he died. So finally, he was unconscious, and after that, he did not remember anything. And the next thing that he remembered, he said that he was lying on his stomach, vomiting the water. And the boy who threw him, he was also afraid, and he was saying that I was just fooling. But nearly this young boy William, he was drawn into the water. So he was carried to the locker room. He got changed, and he walked back home. And when he walked back home, he felt very weak and trembling. And he went home on the bed. He cried a lot, lying on the bed. He could not eat that night, and that haunting fear was in his heart. And that haunting fear lasted again for many years in his life. So after that, he never went back to YMCA. Neither he went to the water. So uh, this is how he developed the hydrophobia. Now wherever he is going, the fear of water comes back. Even if he is not going near the water, to any place or in any situation where some courage is required, some daring is required, he used to get paralyzed. He used to get handicapped with this fear. So this has made him completely handicapped. After a few years, when his friends started um, going for a different kind of water adventures, and he also used to go just watching beside him. So the waters of cascades, wading to the Titan, or bumping river, or bathing in the warm lake, good drops. So whenever he go to the close to the water, the same terrier of water comes back and sees him and disallow him, deny him to go into the water. He used to get frozen. So this goes this lasted for years, many years. And now William Douglas thought that he cannot live with this kind of fear, with this kind of handicap. Yes. So his all joy of going for fishing, going for for boating and canoeing into to the Columbia, to the bumping lake in the Cascades. So it ruined all his joy of adventure, so joy of water, his fishing trips, his boating trips, his canoeing trips, his swimming. And finally, he realized that something has to be done. Something had to be done with this fear, with his hydrophobia. He had to come out of this fear. He realized that. Now, to overcome this fear, what he did, we'll see tomorrow in the next period. Till then, here is assignment for you, homework for you. Uh, it is on your screen. Uh, you complete your assignment homework, and tomorrow attend your prayer. Thank you.